Hey, this is Sam Black with a Legacy Cube draft. I This launched right when I joined the league. Didn't know how soon it would happen. So anyway, looking at this, the cards that stand out to me are Elesh Norn, which is a very high impact, expensive spell. Snapcaster Mage, which is good utility. Hallowed Fountain, which gives me a land that can be found by fetch lands, which opens up options early. Really, the other cards all seem worse than that. There are some that I think are fine, but those are the highlights to me. And I actually really like Elesh Norn specifically as expensive spells go in Cube. There are a lot of decks that just flat out lose to it. It costs a low enough amount of mana that you can realistically just cast it in some decks, while also being a serviceable threat to cheat into play. I feel like it has the highest payoff of the cards available. Also, I feel like blue is generally pretty contested, and Snapcaster can get you into fighting over very limited resources. Here, I think the options are Lingering Souls, Duplicant, and after that I'd be looking at Glacial Fortress, Journey to Nowhere, or Ultimate Price, which I think are all much lower impact. I suppose I could Nissa. 3-mana Planeswalkers are pretty good. I'm going to go with Lingering Souls as a card that plays really well with Elesh Norn in a couple different directions. If I'm a control deck, it helps buy time. The Elesh Norn makes the tokens big, and then also if I'm any kind of reanimator deck, if I'm discarding cards or milling myself or something, I get paid for getting Lingering Souls in the graveyard as well as Elesh Norn. So here, options that stand out to me are, I suppose, Gisela, although I don't have any experience with it. It's weak and constructed when it gets killed easily by removal spells, but it's possible that 3 toughness is less of a flashpoint specifically in Cube, and its ability to dominate combat might actually be pretty good. Geist of St. Traft, although it's not really my style, it has some really good and some really bad matchups in a way that I don't really like. Selfless Spirit, although I think that's better in more aggressive strategies, which Elesh Norn is not best suited to. Declaration in Stone, although I actually think it's a relatively weak removal spell in Cube, as I don't really want to give my opponent a creature or Shepherd. I'm running out of time. I'm going to go with Gisela and feel pretty medium about it. Shepherd is a good reanimation target, which plays in a similar strategy to Elesh Norn, but Gisela, I think, worst case scenario, is a good sideboard card. It's possible that it's actively bad as a main deck card. I'm just not sure. I'll see how I feel about it as my deck shapes up. This pack, I think the pick is between Anguished Unmaking, Merfolk Looter, and Savannah, although I could see an argument for land tax, as Elesh Norn rewards me for getting extra lands. Abhorrent Overlord is good as a reanimation type strategy. And then there are a few other serviceable cards. I'm going to go with the Anguished Unmaking. Lingering Souls is already pulling me toward having white and black mana in my deck, and I think having an answer to a permanent of any type is particularly valuable in Cube, where there are a large number of powerful artifacts and planeswalkers that make it a lot better than just creature removal. This pack has a lot of sweet cards, but I think Spectral Procession is a pretty easy choice for my deck that's already solidly white and doing the token thing with Lingering Souls. Having both Lingering Souls and Spectral Procession allows me to plan for having a large number of flying tokens, which can change how I prioritize other cards in the draft pretty significantly. If this card weren't here, I'd be considering Lightning Helix, as it pairs well with Anguished Unmaking to form the basis of a Mardu control strategy. Alternatively, Avacyn's Pilgrim is a really excellent card with Elesh Norn as green mana creatures to accelerate casting Elesh Norn, which turns the mana creatures into huge threats, is a pretty powerful strategy. Speaking of green mana accelerators to power out Elesh Norn, I'm actually going to take Gaia's Cradle here. I'm still very open to becoming that deck, which I really like and think Gaia's Cradle is one of the best cards in. And also, even if I don't go that way, I have both Lingering Souls and Spectral Procession to give me a large number of creatures to turn Gaia's Cradle into a land that's suddenly giving me a huge amount of mana. If this weren't here, the considerations would be Wasteland and Secure the Wastes, and I'd probably go with Secure the Wastes to further solidify my token plan. But I think that the upside on Gaia's Cradle is just enormous. It's a card that is actually fundamentally unfair in a cube that, because it's Legacy rather than Vintage, has a relatively small number of those. Here I'm going to go with Martial Coup to continue both my control and token themes, as well as playing well with Gaia's Cradle in terms of being an X-Spell and making tokens. Obviously, wrathing myself under Gaia's Cradle isn't necessarily the best, but I think there's quite a bit of upside here. And I think Linvala is pretty medium, especially when I'm making tokens, and Read the Bones is a very low impact card to move into, especially if I have Gaia's Cradle pulling me toward green. Path Exile is a really good removal spell. Having access to it is certainly nice, but I'm actually going to take Scrubland here. I think that there's just too much value to getting good duels to find in improving mana to enable fetch lands. Obviously, I won't be able to get this Bloodstained Mire, but just turning on everything like that can make my mana base radically better than it would be if I let things like this go. Here the pick is between Hallowed Fountain, Den Protector, Acidic Slime, and I suppose Sidisi. Sidisi plays well with my token theme. Den Protector and Acidic Slime play well with moving into green with Gaia's Cradle. Hallowed Fountain keeps my options open since I'm only solidly white at this point. Sidisi is cute and interesting, but it's also a heavy black commitment, and I think I'd rather just take the Hallowed Fountain and stay open. Here I'm going to take Duplicant. Having another blue-white land would make it a lot more tempting to splash blue cards, but I don't know that I'm terribly likely to find a blue card that I want to splash. Journey to Nowhere is a solid removal spell, but not something I'm desperate for, and Duplicant is just a really good card that is just a fine rate and effect by itself that gets a lot better if you're doing something like Recurring Nightmare or cheating it in other ways. Here I'm going to take Sheoldred over Tidehollow Sculler because it's a much more high impact card, and with Elesh Norn it opens up the door to doing some reanimation shenanigans. Here I'm actually not going to take Abhorrent Overlord. I think I have enough in that direction for pack 1. Lockstone Warhammer is actually really good with the tokens that I have, but I'm actually going to go with the land tax here, as I think that white-black is a good shell to just cast these big threats that I have if I'm getting extra lands with land tax. Here I'm going to take Shaman of Forgotten Ways, as some of my big spells are creatures that this can cast very well if I end up doing a green mana thing. I don't really like either of these cards. Scroll Rack Land Tax specifically is an unfair combination that I don't know that I'm super likely to play, but Scroll Rack's value is radically higher if you have land tax than if you don't, so I'm going to give myself the option to do that. Recurring Nightmare is literally perfect with Elesh Norn and Sheoldred with these tokens that I'm making. Grave Titan would also be phenomenal, as would Hornet Queen. If I'm moving in the Gaea's Cradle direction, Stirring Wildwood and Male Citron Pulse also work well if I'm going to be an Abzan control type deck. But Recurring Nightmare works really, really well with both creatures that I have now and creatures that I'm likely to get. And it's just a super powerful card, so this is an easy choice for me. I'm going to break up the 2 and 3 mana cost cards here. I think I like Overgrown Tomb here. I like Birds of Paradise more than Overgrown Tomb, actually. I do think that I want to maximize my Gaea's Cradle by playing cheap mana creatures. Also, having cheap mana creatures makes it a lot easier to use Recurring Nightmare. If this weren't here, I'd probably take Overgrown Tomb to plan to be Abzan rather than just playing Gaea's Cradle as a colorless land. Other cards that appeal, I don't think Nykthos is going to be great in my deck since I'm just making tokens. So Search for Tomorrow or something. Craterhoof is a good big creature. I think I have to go Windswept Heath here, because I have Scrubland, it finds all of my colors. Though I'm really sad about passing both Arbor Elf and Kadama's Reach. Interestingly, I think it's possible that I'll table Westvale Abbey, and I'd be pretty happy about it. Note that Una's Prowler is not a consideration here, even though it does play well with Recurring Nightmare. And given that I'm not blue or red, I might have trouble discarding cards, but I'm just not willing to prioritize it here. If it tables, I might pick it up, and there's a chance that it'll make it into my deck, but there are too many other cards here that are too much better. Cultivate leaps out at me. Wooded Foothills is tempting, but I don't have any lands that currently let it give me more than just green, while Cultivate will play well with my strategy of hard casting these big creatures, and I think it's a pretty good card. I could certainly see someone taking Council's Judgment or even Distended Mindbender here, or Wooded Foothills, but personally I think I like the Cultivate. Let's see. Red-blue is not a good fetch land for me since it's not any of my colors. So this is kind of between Anafenza, which plays well with... No, it does not play well with tokens. Plays very badly with tokens. So I'm probably not into that. So it's between Tasigur, Fertile Ground, and Disfigure. And I'm going to go with the Fertile Ground. I want to pursue this ramp strategy. And I don't know that I'm going to be good at turning on Delve for Tasigur. I'm just not interested in a small removal spell in my ramp deck. Runescarred Demon is a pretty good reanimation target. Malicious Advice is a powerful card. Or Malicious Affliction, rather, sorry. This is just such a good removal spell, but black feels like it's not likely to be an easy casting cost for me to manage, so I'm just going to take the Demon, which obviously is also black, but black 5 is very different than black in terms of your ability to cast it at the right time. Recurring Nightmare, Runescarred Demon is also just really fun. Here, sadly, I have to take Temple Garden over Wall of Omens. Again, this is just a land that will improve my mana base very significantly. Wall of Omens is actually almost better than Temple Garden. With Birds of Paradise, Land Tax, and Cultivate to fix, and already having Windswept Heath and Scrubland, I'm actually just going to take Wall of Omens. It's so good with Recurring Nightmare and Gaea's Cradle that I think it's just too perfect for my deck. I like Unexpectedly Absent a lot as a card, but there's a lot to be said for Summoning Trap. I get to look at 7 cards. I already have like 4 pretty good creatures to hit off of it. There are counter spells, and I might get more. I think this is going to be a sweet Summoning Trap deck. A lot of good options tabled here. I think it's between Stirring Wildwood and Maelstrom Pulse, and I feel like I am lower on fix than random off-plan good spells. Like, this is a fine rate that I'd be satisfied to put in my deck, but it's not exactly what I'm trying to do, and I already have Anguished Unmaking that's accomplishing a very similar job, so I'm just going to take Stirring Wildwood as a very good dual land. Here I'm going to take Overgrown Tomb over Search for Tomorrow and Craterhoof Baloth. Still want that good mana. Really happy to table Arbor Elf. I think Obstinate Baloth is a lot better than Oran Viper. It's good with Recurring Nightmare, and it's a good sideboard card if I don't end up playing it main, whereas Viper is just kind of whatever. I'm going to take Bonfire of the Damned because it's... Oh, this is a league, so past Bonfire of the Damned, I'm not really taking away from opponents, so I'll take Terminate because I might want to splash it. I'm going to take Chord of Calling. I'm making a bunch of tokens, so I might actually want to use this to find huge creatures, and I didn't even really notice or consider this Catacomb Sifter before, but it's actually pretty good in my deck. Works with my tokens and my Gaia's Cradle and my Recurring Nightmare. Oh, I love Nicol Bolas, but I'm obviously not that deck. This actually has a bunch of sweet options. I think I'm not foresty enough for Raphelos. I think Cloudgoat Ranger isn't high impact enough. I think I should just take Dread Return. It's super powerful, and I actually have the tokens to use the flashback on it. Hangerback Walker, Cloudgoat Ranger, and Grey Merchant are all sweet. I'm likely to table one of them. I would also be satisfied with Explore, but I think this is the most powerful card here. Giselle is kind of moving away from what I'm doing. Giselle is too mid-sized. I'm kind of trying to ramp past that into huge, like, I want acceleration into huge stuff rather than just, you know, mid-game 1-for-1 type stuff. Gilded Lotus is really good for casting my stuff. Solemn Simulacrum is also very good for what I'm doing. It's awesome with Recurring Nightmare, lets me cast big things. Animate Dead is great with my big stuff, although I don't have a good plan for getting it in the graveyard, and I don't know how I'm going to find one. Eternal Witness, this pack is just wall-to-wall cards I'd love, actually. Like, almost every card in this pack would be solid in my deck. I'm going to take Solemn Simulacrum and feel really weird about it. I think I just want the, like, value accelerator more than I want the value. Like, I don't have a lot of removal spells or anything, so Eternal Witness is on the bad end of its range. Bone Shredder is good with Recurring Nightmare, but not really impactful enough. Animate Dead wants me to be better at discarding than I'm going to be. Yeah, I feel pretty solid about this Solemn pick. This is between... This is the good one, right? Yeah. Good Sorin. Good Sorin's really good with my token making. Yeah, this Sorin is really, really good with Lingering Souls and Spectral Procession. I could also Rampant Growth or Temple of Malady. I'm kind of long on playables. I think I actually just want the Temple of Malady. I think Scrylands are really powerful. Let's see. This is another creature land that I would be pretty happy to have. Flooded Strand gets Scrubland and Hollowed Fountain. Not that I think that's likely to be relevant. Go for the Throat is a good removal spell that would give me some removal, but I'm not actually overly concerned with removal. There was a time when Parallax Wave was really exciting to me, but I've come down on it a bit. I think I want the Hissing Quagmire. Oh, Noble Hierarch, easy. Noble Hierarch's outstanding. Although, there's just a Gristlebrand in this pack, but Abzan can reanimate is very different than Blue-Black Reanimator or something where I can reliably discard Gristlebrand. I'm so likely to have to hardcast my threats that Gristlebrand is just not that much more exciting than anything else. As much as I would like Misty Rainforest, Elspeth is a really perfect thing to accelerate into when I have Gaia's Cradle and all the other cards in my deck. It's also just a really powerful card. So Dark Ritual is actually really good in my deck, as it lets me just cast this big stuff early. So I think I'm going to take that over Karmic Guide and Faith's Fetters. Evolutionary Leap also does a thing in my deck where it lets me sack my tokens to get giant monsters, but I think Ritual is the way to go here. Wall of Blossoms is the same as Wall of Omens, which I was super excited about. I don't think anything's really changed. So Buried Alive sets up Recurring Nightmare and Dread Return. I doubt I'm going to table Animate Dead. But on the other hand, I could just take Explore. And I think Explore is very good in my deck, and I don't have enough early plays or acceleration, so I'm going to take Explore. I tabled a million great cards. I would be happy with literally this entire pack. I'm inclined to just take the Devoted Druid and feel really silly about the fact that I'm not taking Animate Dead, but this does potentially give me 2 mana to cast my first big thing, and my first big thing is a really big deal. I do not know how good Dromoka's Command is in Cube. I also don't know how good Guiltleaf Winnower is. Guiltleaf Winnower seems like it's probably pretty good, but I'm going to take Dromoka's Command, and I think I'm only going to put it in my sideboard for now because I'm stupid. I think my things are too expensive for Genesis Wave. Like, I'd have to Genesis Wave for 10 to reliably hit stuff, and I have a lot of spells that accelerate, so I have some misses in my deck. So I'm just going to take Reflecting Pool. I have a lot of doubles, so I think this might actually help my mana. I don't actually know if Gristlebrand or Eldrazi Monument is better in my deck, but I do know that Gristlebrand is more fun. That pick might be terrible. Oh, I failed to actually select the Gristlebrand, so I got Bogarde and Hellkite. Alright, whatever. Didn't really need the Gristlebrand. Oh, I got Karmic Guide. Karmic Guide I might play. It's even my only 5-drop. Alright, let's get these lands out of here for now, and then try to get this down to a reasonable number of cards. I do not think that I need the land tax scroll rack value, although, how many ways do I have to shuffle? Apart from land tax, there's, I think I only have one fetch land. Yeah, just Windswept Heath, and then Solemn Simulacrum, Cultivate. I think that's not enough for me to bother with Scroll Rack. I do want Anguished Unmaking. It's my only removal spell, other than Martial Coup, and Duplicant, and Shellowed Red. But it's still a good thing for Runescarred Demon to give me access to. I don't need Baloth Main. I can board that in when my life total is under pressure. Since I really do like most of the cards in this deck, it's not going to be super easy to get down. Let's assume this costs 4. Let's split this up into actual casting costs. Still think this probably costs 4. I don't want to choose Draw, and land tax is going to be really bad after I play Explore or Cultivate, so, and I have enough other ways to get to a lot of mana that I don't think I need it. That was for more if I was just going to be like a white-black control deck rather than an Absent Ramp deck. So let's see. I'm very happy with all of my cheap creatures and Shaman of Forgotten Ways. I don't strictly need Catacomb Sifter. I'm very happy with Solemn Simulacrum. I don't strictly need Karmic Guide. It obviously plays super well with Recurring Nightmare, but again, I'm not discarding my things, so Reanimation's at a lower priority. Let's assume that I am not going to end up getting to play Karmic Guide. Though I might board it in against removal. I think I like all 3 fatties. They're pretty good fatties, and I'm pretty good at casting them. I definitely do want Summoning Trap and Elspeth. Yeah, I think Catacomb Sifter is my most cuttable card. I can see an argument for cutting Dark Ritual, but I think that it's likely enough that casting one of my 6 or 7 mana cards is going to be good enough to win the game. So I think I want it. Now, is this a 15 land deck? I think the answer is yes. I have 4 mana creatures, 2 cantrips, Cultivate, Fertile Ground, Explore, Shaman, and Solemn Simulacrum. I think I think I have enough mana in this deck. So I think we're good to go. I just need to add and figure out my lands. We're not going to play Hallowed Fountain, since I obviously need to have enough basics to find with Cultivate and everything, and there's no upside, and it makes me lose 2 life. But all the rest of these lands look very good. So my highest priority is having green early. Let's assume that I want 10 cards that give me access to green mana, and I can't count Gaea's Cradle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm going to want 5 forests. That's not going to leave me a lot of the other things. Let's start with 4 forests and see what that does to my white and black sources. So counting Fixing, I think I want... I actually don't have that many white cards. It's mostly just Spectral Procession that's pulling me toward wanting a lot of white. I have Wall of Omens, Lingering Souls, Spectral Procession, Elesh Norn, and Elspeth. Let's assume that counting Fixing 8 would be a comfortable number of white sources. So, but I'm not going to count Arbor Elf, even though it sort of counts. But Birds and Noble Hierarch is 2. Fertile Ground and Cultivate is 3, 4. Reflecting Pool is 5. Scrubland is 6. Strong Wildwood is 7. Windswept Heath is 8. But all of that is contingent on me having Plains for Cultivate. So that's 9. That seems likely to be enough. Oh, and a Swamp is snuck into my deck. Okay, that's fine. Probably gonna want one anyway. How are we on black? My black requirements are overall pretty similar to my white requirements. So in the ballpark 8 or 9. Noble Hierarch doesn't count. So we have Birds as 1, 2, 3, 4. Wonder if I forgot to count this for white. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Alright, well that's plenty. I think I just add a second Plains. Feel good about the amount of white and black in my deck. Slightly concerned about green. So just to go over this again. White, black, green. Okay, so black first. That's 11 black sources, not counting Shaman of Forgotten Ways, which casts Sheladrid and Runescarred Demon. That's pretty good. And then white sources. Ten white sources, and then green, ten plus Solemn, but Solemn doesn't, well, 9 plus Solemn and Gaea's Cradle, but they don't really count because they don't cast my early green stuff. I wish I could cut a black for a green, but there's no way to cut one black because I'm only playing one Swamp, and cutting that also cuts Cultivate and Solemn Simulacrum, which I don't really want to do. I think I'm going to cut the second Plains and add a Forest. I think it's more important to make sure that I can cast my green spells. Feel better about 10 green. I'm still going to be able to cast Elspeth. This is fine. Alright, this is my deck.